What if the most important belief in human history isn't true? What if there is no God watching over us, no divine plan, no heaven, no ultimate justice waiting at the end of life? Would morality collapse? Would life lose meaning? Or would humanity finally be forced to face reality completely alone? Tonight on Sacred Questions, we explore one of the most unsettling questions a human being can ask. What if God doesn't exist? For many people, belief in God is more than religion. It's comfort, purpose, hope, identity. It answers the biggest questions humans have ever asked. Why are we here? What happens after death? Why does suffering exist? Does life actually mean anything? But what happens if the answer to all those questions is nothing divine at all? This is not a video attacking faith, and it's not a video promoting atheism. This is an honest exploration of doubt, belief, fear, meaning, and what it really means to be human. Because whether you believe in God or not, at some point, almost everyone asks this question. Usually late at night, usually quietly, usually alone. What if I'm wrong? Before asking whether God exists, we first need to understand why belief in God has existed in nearly every civilization in human history. Human beings seem naturally drawn towards something beyond themselves. Ancient tribes worshipped spirits, civilizations built temples, people prayed during war, famine, disease, and tragedy. Even today, billions of people believe in God across different religions and cultures. Why? Some argue it's because humans genuinely experience the divine. People describe moments they cannot explain, miracles, near-death experiences, answered prayers, a sense of presence, profound peace. Others argue belief comes from psychological need. We fear death, we fear chaos, we fear meaninglessness, and the idea of God gives structure to a confusing world. Philosopher Blaise Pascal once argued that believing in God is the safer choice. If God exists, belief has eternal reward. If God doesn't exist, little is lost. But critics respond, should belief be based on fear? Can someone force themselves to believe simply because it feels safer? These questions have divided thinkers for centuries, and they lead directly to the central issue. What evidence is there for God at all? Believers often point to the universe itself as evidence. The cosmos appears astonishingly ordered. The laws of physics seem finely tuned for life. Consciousness itself remains deeply mysterious. Some theologians argue, a painting implies a painter, a creation implies a creator. One famous philosophical argument asks, why is there something rather than nothing? If everything that begins to exist has a cause, what caused the universe? For many believers, God is the answer. Others point to morality. Why do humans across cultures recognize concepts like good and evil? Why does injustice feel objectively wrong? If morality is only a human invention, then is anything truly evil? Or is morality just opinion? Many religious thinkers argue that objective morality requires a moral lawgiver. And then there's personal experience. Millions claim they have encountered God directly through prayer, worship, or transformation. Former addicts finding redemption, hopeless people finding peace, lives radically changed by faith. To believers, these experiences are not illusions, they are evidence, but skeptics remain unconvinced, and their objections are serious. Perhaps the strongest challenge to belief is suffering. If God is all-powerful and loving, why is the world filled with pain? Children die, wars destroy nations, natural disasters wipe out innocent lives. Some people pray desperately and receive silence. This is often called the problem of evil. And honestly, it's one of the hardest questions in theology. Believers respond in different ways. Some say suffering is the result of human free will. Others argue pain can produce growth, compassion, or deeper understanding. Some believe human beings simply cannot fully understand God's reasons. But for many people, suffering doesn't strengthen faith, it destroys it. Another argument against God is the lack of clear evidence. Critics ask, if God wants humanity to know Him, why remain hidden? Why allow thousands of religions to exist simultaneously? Why make truth so confusing? Science also changed the conversation. As humanity learned more about the universe, many phenomena once attributed to God gained natural explanations: lightning, disease, planetary motion. Some atheists argue that God becomes smaller each time science advances, and yet, science itself cannot fully answer every human question. Science explains how things work, but meaning, purpose, morality, and consciousness remain deeply debated. Even among scientists and philosophers, certainty is rare. Now we arrive at the most uncomfortable part of this discussion. What if God truly doesn't exist? What would that mean? For some, it would mean freedom, no divine judgment, no eternal punishment, no cosmic authority deciding right and wrong. Human beings would become fully responsible for creating meaning themselves, but others see something terrifying in that idea. If there is no ultimate justice, then evil people may simply escape consequences forever. If consciousness ends at death, then every memory, relationship, and achievement eventually disappears. The atheist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre believed humans are condemned to be free. In other words, without God, meaning is not discovered, it must be created. That sounds empowering, but also exhausting, because if there's no higher purpose, then humanity carries the full weight of existence alone, and many people struggle with that burden. Yet some non-believers still live deeply moral, meaningful lives. They find purpose in love, family, creativity, truth, compassion, and human connection. So the question becomes, does meaning require eternity to matter, or can temporary things still possess profound beauty? A sunset fades, music ends, human life is brief, yet those things still move us deeply. Maybe meaning does not depend entirely on permanence. That idea challenges both believers and skeptics alike. What makes this topic so emotionally powerful is that many people live somewhere in the middle, not fully believing, not fully rejecting. Some pray while doubting. Some doubt while desperately wanting to believe, and maybe that tension has always been part of the human experience. Even in the Bible, there are moments of uncertainty, people crying out, "God, where are you? Why have you abandoned me? Why are you silent?" Faith is often portrayed as certainty, but in reality, many believers wrestle constantly with questions, and perhaps questioning itself is not the enemy of faith. Perhaps honest doubt can lead to deeper understanding, or deeper humility, because the truth is, no human being sees the full picture. Believers operate partly on faith, skeptics operate partly on assumptions too. Both are trying to answer mysteries larger than themselves. And maybe recognizing that uncertainty makes us more compassionate toward one another. So, what if God doesn't exist? Maybe life becomes an accident in a cold universe. Or maybe human beings become even more extraordinary precisely because meaning is fragile. But what if God does exist? Then every act of love, every sacrifice, every prayer whispered in loneliness might matter eternally. The reality is, no YouTube video can completely answer this question. Philosophers have debated it for thousands of years. Theologians still debate it today. And perhaps the question itself reveals something important about humanity. We are creatures searching for meaning, searching for truth, searching for hope, searching for something beyond ourselves. Whether that search ends in faith or doubt or somewhere in between, it is one of the deepest journeys a person can take. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever seriously questioned whether God exists? Did it strengthen your faith or weaken it? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Respectful disagreement is welcome here. And if you enjoy deep conversations about faith, doubt, philosophy, and the biggest questions humans can ask, subscribe to Sacred Questions and join us for the next discussion, because some questions are too important to ignore.